I will do what I must. Hello there.
Obi-Wan Kenobi delivers on the hype in a major way, wrapping up the story nice and tight, but not before adding a few explosive new details to what we thought we knew about a certain galaxy far, far away. Directed by Deborah Chow, the finale definitely forces Obi-Wan and Anakin to face off at least one last time, and we'll break all that down, plus we'll break into that ending. We got two major character cameos, and what they mean for the larger canon. But before we get into all that, I have to warn you, we are about to spoil this whole dang thing, so if you haven't seen it yet, or you just don't care what we think, now would be the time to hop in a conveniently placed escape pod and get out of here. Alright, now that we're past the spoiler warning, let's get right into it. Obi-Wan got his groove back, and Leia got a holster, and Luke finally got his Skyhopper toy, but more importantly, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader had another epic showdown, and in the end, Vader got wrecked and Kenobi left him for dead. Reva makes it to Tatooine, and after giving the Lars family some major anxiety, decides to spare young Luke Skywalker and give up that Inquisitor life of revenge, and by the end of the episode, everything is neatly in place where you think it should be, leading into the established canon. Okay, that's a lot to lay on you all at once, so let's do a little recap real quick to show you how things wound up this way. There are two main storylines in this episode. First, Kenobi versus Vader, and second, Reva versus Owen and Beru Lars on Tatooine. One of these fights seems fairer than the other. Anyway, Obi-Wan is aboard the Path transport running from the Devastator and a very pissed off Darth Vader. He realizes that if he abandons ship and runs, Vader will follow him, allowing the Path rebels to escape and survive this encounter with a much more powerful capital ship. Hey, remember in the last episode when the transport Vader snagged using the Force was just a decoy because they had another smaller ship ready to go as well? Well, that ship also had a smaller, even faster ship smuggled inside it, and Obi-Wan uses that ship to hightail it out of there, and Lord Vader predictably reroutes all of his resources to chase down Obi-Wan. And if Vader knew how to delegate at all, he could have easily accomplished both of his goals with the Star Destroyer that he was in charge of. It's a whole freaking ship. They've got smaller ships inside that ship. They're called TIE Fighters. Look into them.
I'll take them myself. Come on.
So anyway, Obi-Wan sets down on a dark and desolate moon, and Vader follows him, alone. He brings his whole Star Destroyer and all of their fighters and their tractor beams and whatever else they got up there that would probably be useful in capturing / destroying a rebel ship, so he can have them sit up there in orbit as he faces Kenobi by himself. And he loses, and the Path rebels get away. Now we're going to break down this epic lightsaber duel in just a minute, so stick with me, but that total breakdown in resource management is a big enough screw up that it warrants a harshly worded Zoom call with the Emperor himself, who thinks that Vader's focus on Kenobi has only left him weakened.
Kenobi means nothing. I serve only you.
Yeah, totally cool and normal boss-employee relationship. Seems perfectly healthy. Anyway, as all this is happening, a gravely wounded Reva arrives at the Lars homestead on Tatooine hunting for Luke. Owen and Beru are able to briefly slow Reva down while Luke bails out the back door into Beggar's Canyon to hide and get a head injury. Reva finds him there and nearly executes him, but realizes that doing that would just make her like Vader, the guy that she hates the most. After Obi-Wan wraps up his business with Vader, he makes it to the Lars homestead just as Reva arrives, carrying an unconscious young Luke who is still alive, but at the very least has a concussion. Owen zips Luke away to deal with his recent blunt force trauma, and Kenobi and Reva have their last scene together. Reva chose mercy instead of revenge. She tosses her Inquisitor lightsaber into the sand because apparently there are not enough Jedi weapons buried on this planet.
Now you're free. We both are.
Obi-Wan stops by Alderaan again and has a nice little moment with Leia and the Organas, and the episode ends with him back on Tatooine wearing his Jedi belt again, ready to do the desert nomad thing when Owen invites him to officially meet Luke, and his first words to the boy?
Hello there.
He said the thing. After Vader literally wiped the floor with Kenobi in their first meetup since Mustafar, we guessed that there had to be another rematch coming, and that is exactly what happened, and it was definitely worth the wait. If you ever wanted to see a duel pitting a fully powered Kenobi against a fully powered Vader, this is it. The lightsaber combat is fast and fluid and brutal, and these are two masters in their prime. Well, I guess technically only one of them is a master, but you know what I'm saying. All of the fear and unsteadiness that Kenobi displayed in their first Vader rematch earlier in the season is all gone. This is a full-on Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, fresh off of a successful Princess Leia rescue mission. He fights Vader to a virtual standstill to the point where it's not their skill with a blade that'll win the duel.
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
Remember in The Last Jedi when Rey describes the Force as something you pick up rocks with? Well, she wasn't wrong. Vader and Obi-Wan proceed to throw very big rocks at each other, which is really kind of a nice way to spice things up in a laser sword fight. At one point, Vader takes the high ground and literally uses it to bury Kenobi to the point where he thought that his old master was dead, but obviously Kenobi lived, and he uses the Force to protect himself from Vader's attack, and then again to pummel Vader with a barrage of rocks. Despite a devastating opening attack from Vader, Kenobi easily won this round. He leaves Vader wheezing and barely able to stand with part of his face visible behind his mask.
I'm sorry, Anakin. For all of it.
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
This is a pretty major revelation, at least for Kenobi. He says that my friend is truly dead, the way that Luke says a similar line to Vader decades later in Return of the Jedi.
Then my father is truly dead.
Anyway, Kenobi leaves him for dead again, which apparently isn't that big of a deal when you're more machine than man, and the next time we see Vader, he's all fixed up with a new face mask and suit, so he's ready for his holo call with his angry boss. So besides letting Vader truly know who is the learner and who is the master, what did Obi-Wan accomplish in this duel? Yeah, the whole point was distracting Vader so the Path rebels could escape and survive, and that plan worked great thanks to Vader's complete inability to delegate. Letting Vader live at the end of this encounter might have given Obi-Wan the moral high ground, but it also kind of leads to the deaths of thousands upon thousands of beings throughout the galaxy. I know the Jedi aren't supposed to execute their wounded opponents, but maybe they should consider it in some cases.
Goodbye, Princess. May the Force be with you.
So as of the time that we're making this here video, there's been no announcement or mention from Lucasfilm that Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming back for a season 2, but that doesn't mean there can't be one, and the finale definitely leaves room for more. If Lucasfilm can squeeze a story into this point in the timeline without upsetting the canon, they could easily do more, as long as everything matches up in the end. Obi-Wan tells Owen and Beru that they're all the protection that Luke needs, which is sweet, but no they aren't. Protecting Luke still has to be on Obi-Wan's radar, even though he'll be out wandering the desert or whatever. Marvel's Star Wars comics have covered a little bit of this, and hey, look, he's even got the same outfit we last saw him in. But in that story, it's Obi-Wan versus Mos Eisley's scum and villainy, while not using a lightsaber and staying out of sight and off the Empire's radar. The other important part of the finale is showing that Kenobi realizes that there is a resistance and that it's growing. If you're wondering what a season 2 could be about, that's it. The legendary Jedi Master doing what he can to aid the fledgling rebellion while also keeping Luke safe on Tatooine. Reva's character arc came to a satisfying conclusion for now, with her choosing to carry Luke safely back to Owen and Beru, unable to inflict the same cruelty that defined her whole life. Obi-Wan makes the very Jedi decision not to execute her for knowing his secret existence on Tatooine, and instead inspires her to take control of her own life. After casting her cool, spinning Inquisitor lightsaber aside, what happens to her now? She's an Order 66 survivor on the run in the age of the Empire. There are many ways to move forward with Reva, and a massive opening for her story to continue on. She could choose to help the Path if her presence doesn't scare the crap out of them. But what if Reva's next appearance is in Star Wars Jedi Survivor? The door is wide open, and we really can't wait to see where she pops up next. And of course, now is the time to run down all the Easter eggs we spotted in this episode, and here is what we got. Part 6 features a pretty iconic shot and music cue as Vader's destroyer pursues Obi-Wan and company's escape ship in a shot scaling the entire massive size of the Devastator. We get a call out to the legendary opening of A New Hope and the ridiculous odds at play.
Never tell me the odds.
Hello there.
I don't even need to explain this one. It's Obi-Wan's catchphrase at this point. It's kind of a weird catchphrase, but the point is, he says it to Luke when the two finally meet, and that's all we get to hear of that fateful first conversation, which honestly might have been kind of awkward, because he's just like, hey, this man you've never met who lives in the desert has a toy for you. Kind of weird. Speaking of which, Obi-Wan finally drops off that Skyhopper toy for Luke, which will presumably inspire Luke to pilot a real one someday, which he'll use to bullseye Womp Rats, and that, of course, was great practice for blowing up a Death Star.
I will do what I must.
And hey, speaking of catchphrases, Obi-Wan brought this one back from the Vader-Anakin duel on Mustafar.
I will do what I must.
Obi-Wan does the thing with his lightsaber. Surisu lightsaber ready stance is something we've seen multiple times, with Ewan McGregor doing it in the prequels, along with the Clone Wars era Obi-Wan and even Old Man Obi-Wan. And Surisu, also known as the Resilience form, focuses more on defense and also symbolizes that he is back, baby.
I am not your failure.
Vader's mask has been broken before by Ahsoka, the other significant friendship/mentorship in his life that heartbreakingly imploded in the Rebels Season 2 finale, Twilight of the Apprentice. He tells both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka,
"Then you will die,"
as each tried to save him, making these moments mirror each other. To bring that point really home, Ahsoka broke the right side of his mask while Obi-Wan broke the left. And on that note, Hayden Christensen is back in the suit. The voice modulated between Christensen's and James Earl Jones's voice, and we heard a similar version of this effect in Rebels when Vader's mask was broken, but in that case it was between Jones and Clone Wars era Anakin voice actor Matt Lanter.
I'm not afraid.
I know.
Young Luke says a famous original trilogy Luke line. When Beru tells him about the impending danger of Reva, he says, "I'm not afraid." Unfortunately, Beru doesn't have the same gravitas as Yoda.
"You will be."
Ian McDiarmid returns as Emperor Sheev Palpatine, this time having a motivational chat with Lord Vader via HoloNet, but he opted out of his totally normal, usual power move of having the Holo be his entire huge face instead of, normally framing a shot like I'm doing right now. We get a beautiful shot moment of Vader in his Mustafar home, Fortress Vader, where Anakin died and Vader was forged. After he finishes talking to Palpatine, we even hear a bit of John Williams' Imperial March. Speaking of which, both of John Williams' themes for Leia and the Force play over the Leia and Obi-Wan final scene, and when we finally see a genuine smile from old Ben, he promises to help her if she ever needs him again, and of course she does. They made a whole movie about it. Okay, so remember when the Sir Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan told Luke that Vader killed his father? Well, even though that was only true from a certain point of view or whatever, hearing it straight from Vader's own mask hole really hammers that point home.
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
And of course, yes, that was Liam Neeson returning as Qui-Gon Jinn, or Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost at least. This is a nice little moment to bridge the prequel and original trilogies. Of course, it's nice to see Neeson back as Qui-Gon, but this also shows how Obi-Wan is able to appear to Luke as a Force Ghost in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He learned it from another ghost.
Come on, you've got a ways to go.
But what did you think of the finale? Did that lightsaber duel live up to all the hype? And do you think they're going to do a season 2 of this show? And if so, what's it about? Let's hear your best theories in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching this episode of Canon Fodder. I'm Max Scoville, and for more Obi-Wan, here's a video about why he's actually the greatest Jedi of all time. And if you want more Star Wars and videos about all sorts of stuff, don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch. May the Force be with you. I'll see you next time.
Hello there.
General Kenobi! You are a bold one.